Hello everyone. In this video we will discuss the importance of movement and exercise on the human body. Let's first talk about movement in general. Oftentimes when we think of movement with the human body, we think of gross motor movements, meaning large-scale movements like being able to move my arm, prepare my meals, bathe, dress ourselves, those types of items, which are more musculoskeletal. So using the skeletal system, the bones, and the muscles to act as levers to be able to move things around for us so that we can move throughout our day-to-day. That's the most common thing that we think of when we think of movement in the body. There's many other aspects in the body that involve movement that are also really important in maintaining homeostasis. The first one I want to talk about is blood. Now, if we think about it, we even talk about circulation. So we understand that there's movement happening in our blood. And what is happening is our blood is taking in oxygen as we breathe, and it is bringing it to all the tissues in the body, and then taking carbon dioxide, which was created the last time the body used the oxygen at that tissue, and bringing it back so that we can exhale it. So that's a really important movement that we need to know about. Other things such as nutrients can move through the bloodstream as well. So we need to understand that there's more of an internal movement that's occurring there as well. Alongside that is respiration or breathing. So inhaling and exhaling, that's movement. Our rib cage is moving several times per minute so that we're able to have the oxygen coming in and carbon dioxide going out alongside the blood. Our heart is constantly moving. And these ones, respiration and cardiovascular system, is really important that it moves without us thinking about it. And that's really important because if you had to think and tell your heart to beat 60 times per minute, that would be really challenging to be able to do other things. Whereas we do have to consciously tell our skeletal system to move our hand, for example. It shouldn't be operating without our conscious thoughts. So there's some differences there. Food, our nutrition. We spoke of that in the last video. Nutrition, well, how does that get where it needs to go? Well, we have to prepare it with our skeletal muscles. We have to masticate or eat it. So we bring it up to our mouths, we have to chew it, so it gets a mechanical breakdown, and then we swallow it. And then it enters into what we call the alimentary canal or the gastrointestinal tract. And that's one long tunnel, if you think of it. It's the esophagus into the stomach, and then in the stomach there's acid that breaks it down. Then when it's ready, it leaves the stomach into the small intestine, and the small intestine adds via the pancreas some juices in there to break some things down, and then it goes through a very long passageway in the small intestine where a lot of the nutrients are absorbed, and then in the large intestine it starts to become what we would recognize as feces. So that's the way out for the materials that could not be used for proper nutrition that we didn't need, and that allows for a way for the waste to exit the body as well. And that's really important to have regulated bowel movements and be able to remove waste as well. I know that's something we don't always like to talk about as a society, is urinating and bowel movements, but that's really important to be able to stay balanced and have that homeostasis. We need to get rid of the waste. Imagine if you never took the trash out of your room, or at work, no one ever took the trash out. What would happen after many, many years of garbage filling up that room? Where would you sit? Would there be a smell? It wouldn't be comfortable. Eventually you'd run out of space. The same would happen with the human body if we're not able to get rid of the waste. And that's another really important aspect involving movement in the body. Next, we want to talk more about exercise and physical fitness. And something that we don't always think of, but we do associate with exercise and physical fitness, is attitude. Perhaps when I said the word exercise, you cringed a little bit, or maybe you said, yes, I love exercise. We all have some sort of psychological association with that, a mood, if you will, where we enjoy exercise, we've had great experience with it perhaps, or not so much, or somewhere in between. And that's something that we can possibly change if we need to increase the amount of exercise. And on the other side of things, there are people that favor exercise too much, and they maybe need to step back from that. So certainly contemplating our attitudes toward exercise and physical fitness is really important in making sure that we are having the correct amount and a good quality of physical fitness as well. Where do we get these attitudes? Some of them are learned from our family as we're growing up. School, certainly physical education programs and health education programs can give us some information there as well. And then as we become teenagers and into adulthood, we have a favoritism for that. If we had a good experience, maybe we had an athletic trainer and a coach that was really helpful, and they instilled good exercise understanding in us, and we feel that we have strong enough skills to be able to exercise without being injured. Certainly injury during exercise stops a lot of people from wanting to do it again. It makes them very nervous to re-enter physical fitness because they were injured at one point. And sometimes timing is an issue. We would rather be spending our time doing something else instead of realizing that that investment of about 30 minutes per day for 5 days per week of cardiovascular exercise can really be helpful long-term and give us more days in the long run. But oftentimes we think very myopically or short-sightedly that about today or tomorrow, not many, many years down the road. So we need to think of that as well, that physical fitness is an investment, so that can change our attitude and outlook on exercise as well. We also want to understand that all age groups to some extent can benefit from physical fitness. Even little infants now, it's being recommended to have tummy time, where they're on their stomachs and they have some items that are intriguing them to lift their head up and start building those musculoskeletal muscles and start building the curvatures in their spine so that when they start crawling and then eventually walking, they are ready to take on that weight-bearing role. Then that moves forward with school-age children should have exercise as well, adolescents, adults, and even seniors. Sometimes people think, oh, once you retire, you don't work out anymore. It's really important to work out throughout your life, but especially in your senior years, because it helps with cardiovascular movement, and it also helps decrease the chances of onset of osteoporosis, which is sort of a breakdown or a brittling of your bones. And that's where we move on to the next topic I really want to talk about, and that is weight-bearing exercise. When I say weight-bearing exercise, I don't mean you have to go to the gym and pick up heavy dumbbells or some other type of weight. That's not what I mean. What I mean by weight-bearing is that you are being challenged, your body is being challenged by gravity. So you're sitting or perhaps standing while you're moving, maybe a light weight in the hands while you're doing some of these movements, but really trying to get some physical exercise in there to challenge your skeletal system, challenge your bones. As you learned in the lecture and in the book, we want to talk about Wolff's Law, which is a law that's in anatomy and physiology that states that bones will be reformed based upon the forces placed upon them. So if there is no force, if you're just slouching in the lazy boy all day watching TV and you only get up to go to the bathroom, eventually your body will say, hey, I can use that calcium elsewhere. Why bother storing it to build the bone? And eventually the bones can become very brittle. So you want to challenge your body and remind yourself, even in your senior years, or remind your body rather, that it's important to have the calcium in the bones because you are still going to use them. So you can sort of think of Wolff's Law as a use it or lose it policy in terms of bone mass. If you're not challenging your body, even in your senior years, eventually your body will stop rebuilding the bone. And it's important for us to understand that throughout our life, our bones are being remodeled. Our bones are not the same as they were when we were younger. They're constantly being remodeled, even if there's no injury. We want to take away old tired out bone and re-strengthen it. Well, eventually we don't re-strengthen it, or our body does not re-strengthen it if it determines we're not using it. It will use the nutrients, the energy, and the calcium elsewhere. And that's why weight-bearing exercise is really important. And I want to make sure that you have an understanding of the importance of weight-bearing exercise in correlation with Wolff's Law, especially in the senior population. We want to understand that. So please make sure that you're comfortable with that and that you can give a basic description of Wolff's Law and what is going on there and how weight-bearing exercise can decrease the chance of incidence of osteoporosis or breakdown of the bone. I hope you found this video helpful, and I look forward to discussing this further with you in the discussion forum this week. Have a great week.